Hi everyone, Dave here at East Rosebud Fly and Tackle in Billings, Montana. Today I'm going to tie another very popular grasshopper imitation pattern called the Chubby Chernobyl. You can see it's quite big, quite visible, and you'll see during the construction that it floats quite well. We carry them here in many colors, but purple seems to be the hot color these days, and so I'm going to tie one in purple for you. You can use a 2 or 3x long hook. I'm using a Diarrhea E710, but you could also use a 5262 TMC. I'm using 3/0 purple Montana Fly Company thread. The reason I'm using the heavier thread is because anytime you're working with foam and you cinch it down, you do not want to use anything smaller than 6/0 or you'll cut the foam body. I'm also going to be using 2 different types of foam. You may not be aware of them. Rainey's makes them. One is called Evizote. If you can see here, it has large air bubbles in it. It's a very buoyant foam. The other is called Crosslink, or 2mm foam. It's much more durable than the Evizote, but it doesn't have quite the buoyancy. So if you look at this fly, you look at the underbody and you see how heavy it is, you'll see that I don't want to dub that much ice tub on the fly. So we're going to make an underbody with the Evizote foam to help build that bulk up and to also increase flotation. So the first thing we're going to do is with this purple thread, we're going to start a couple of eye lengths back from the hook, wrap the thread base all the way to the end of the shank, and then open spiral back up to where we started. For the tail on this, I'm going to be using UV purple crystal flash. We also have a dark purple that looks nice, and of course, like any fly, feel free to experiment. Try some different colors, do some different things. I'm just going to cut off 2 strands. I'm going to double them over in the middle. And with that doubled over portion, go ahead and tie it on. As you'll see, what this does is this effectively gives us 4 strands in the rear without having to use so much material. And then we're going to cut this off to about half a shank length, like so. Alright, I cut Evizote a little less than hook gap in width, and we're simply going to lay this on top where we started our thread, bind it down with several firm wraps, and then we're going to just open spiral back over this. If we pack it down tight, then we're going to lose the floating ability that this material provides. Cut it off close. Alright, next I've cut the body with one of River Roads Creations Chernobyl tapered body cutters. This medium is good for a size 6 or 8 hook. And this is what it looks like right here. So we're going to tie in the round end, and we want this to be just about hook gap, maybe a little bit less in length, hanging out over the back of the fly. I'm going to make several wraps here. Keep it on top of the hook. Alright, like so. Don't worry about the number of wraps. We're going to hide all of this with our ice tub. Now we're going to take this, what I'm using is the Silly Legs, the Fire Tip black and purple. Of course, there's a lot of different combinations you can use. Centipede legs, sexy floss legs. I'm simply going to take one of these legs off, fold it in half, grasp it at the midpoint here with the loop forward. This material is just a little bit delicate, so I can't really pull it on each side without helping it a little bit, but we really want to keep one strand on each side of the hook, like so. A couple more wraps to secure it. Now our wing is going to be clear sparkle yarn. You can also use widow's web. That's also very appropriate. I just find it a little harder to handle and keep it in a reasonable bunch. This one was done with widow web. I'm going to do this with the sparkle yarn or McFly-Lon. So I'm cutting a single strand off of the hank, like so. Then I'm going to cut one piece about 1.5 inches long for the rear tail. I'm going to hold it in the middle, right over where we tied in our legs. Keep everybody where they belong. And a second wrap. Now we're going to use some purple ice dub here. Purple ice dub or ice dub can be difficult to dub. I think the secret, at least for me, is just to use a few strands at a time and just build it up. Well, right now we're only going to need just a couple of inches here. And what we're going to do here is fold our wing back and use the thread and the ice dub to force this back over the body. Like so. Make some snug wraps, make sure it's down tight, and make sure that that wing is facing back. We'll trim things up in a little bit here. And now we're going to use our ice dub. We're going to need a few inches of it here to cover our under foam body, the Evizote. Ice dub is about the maximum thickness of synthetic dubbing that I can personally dub. It does take quite a little bit of pressure and a lot of dubbing wax for me. Now we're just going to lift up our foam, get our legs out of the way. We're going to wrap forward and start covering our underbody. Now I think you can imagine if we didn't have that underbody of foam, how much dubbing we would have to do to fill this. We'll dub a few more inches of it. And continue to cover our underbody. If you're not sure if you're doing the job, turn your fly over and look at the bottom to make sure everybody is secure. And we'll continue to dub up to within a couple of eye lengths behind the eye, which is where we started our thread. And we can dub this fairly heavy. Alright, let's see how we're doing here. Okay, now we're a couple eye lengths back from the eye. Simply going to bring our foam forward. I like to make a fairly loose wrap at first, and then the succeeding wraps go ahead and pinch down, get this foam secure. And then we're simply going to duplicate what we did before with the legs and the wing. One more strand of rubber leg. Go ahead and fold it in half. so that the loop is facing over the eye. Grasp it about the middle. Take one wrap and spread these so that they're on the sides of the fly where we want them. There we go. There we go. A couple more wraps to secure them. Next, we're going to take from that same bundle of sparkle yarn or McFlylon or widow's web, whatever you'd like to use, another piece about 2.5 inches long. And again, we're going to tie it in at the middle, right up on top. Several firm wraps. And once again, back to the ice dub to fold this wing back over the body and to cover our thread wraps. Alright, so we hold the back half of the wing back and wrap a couple of wraps of thread with ice dub on it. Force that wing to lay back. You can see this is not a complicated fly. It does take a little bit of time with all the dubbing, but I guarantee you the effects in the field will be worth the effort. Take another wrap there, then we're going to lift everything up and continue our ice dub right up to behind the eye. We'll go ahead and do a double whip finish on this so I don't have to cement it. Alright, typically we want the head of the fly to be just a little bit longer than the eye of the hook. You get your scissors in here, cut it off square. If you like, then you can also trim the corners a little bit to be a little bit more hopper head shape, like so. Then we're just going to get our rubber band legs. We're going to cut the two loops and spread the legs to the side. Comb our wing back here. I like to taper it just a little bit. And the legs can be cut to any length that you desire. About hook shank length is probably a good way to go. There you have the purple Chubby Chernobyl. Please give it a try if you haven't. A simple fly to tie. It does take very few materials. As always, if you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to contact us. Thanks for joining. We'll see you next time.